Kamala Harris said she believes Donald Trump is a fascist. Tucker Carlson talked about Trump spanking the country, and a man from Alabama found a new prime number. That's some of what we'll get to on the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Thursday, October 24th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Number 1. The vice president took part in a CNN town hall last night in Pennsylvania. Host Anderson Cooper asked her about recent comments by former top Trump aides who have described him as a fascist. Here's what she said.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security, who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected. Talking about the person who would be commander-in-chief.
John Kelly is a retired Marine general who served as Trump's chief of staff. He's one of the people who has offered warnings about the former president. He recently told the New York Times that Trump prefers the dictator approach to government. And Kelly said that Trump more than once said that Adolf Hitler did some good things. The notion that Trump is a would-be dictator has become central to Harris's argument during the final stretch of the campaign. Number 2 is a Washington Post exclusive. A former American sheriff is working with Russia to produce deepfakes. John Mark Dugan used to be a deputy sheriff in Palm Beach County, Florida. He also served in the Marines. But in 2016, he fled to Moscow, and he's now working directly with Russian military intelligence to circulate misinformation that targets the Harris campaign. This is according to Russian documents obtained by a European intelligence service and reviewed by the Post. Researchers say that Dugan's network was probably behind a recent viral faked video that smeared Harris's running mate, Tim Walz. And in other stranger campaign news, former Fox News host Tucker Carlson delivered an extended metaphor at a Trump campaign rally in Georgia last night. He riled up the crowd, describing how a father figure like Trump would spank the country.
And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. This is going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this.
The crowd then chanted "Daddy's home" when Trump took the stage. There are 12 days left until Election Day. Number 3. There are at least 3,000 North Korean troops in Russia. Biden administration officials said yesterday that the U.S. has intelligence showing that North Korean troops are undergoing combat training in Russia. It's not known for certain if they will join the war in Ukraine, but officials said the troops would be legitimate military targets if they do. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby spoke to reporters at the White House yesterday.
If Russia is indeed forced to turn to North Korea for manpower, this would be a sign of weakness, not strength, on the part of the Kremlin.
Russia and North Korea are both nuclear-armed, long-standing adversaries of the U.S. Their potential collaboration could have serious global implications. Number 4. Workers at Boeing rejected a deal to end their strike. Nearly 6 weeks ago, 33,000 machinists walked off the job at the aerospace giant. And yesterday, they voted not to accept the company's latest contract proposal. The offer included a 35% pay increase and other benefits. But the union says Boeing still hasn't done enough to satisfy its members' demands. The vote comes as financial troubles for Boeing are mounting. The strike has idled production of most of its commercial airliners. Analysts say it's costing the company $1 billion a month. And yesterday, Boeing reported a $6.2 billion third quarter loss. Infant mortality got worse after Roe v. Wade was overturned. That's our fifth story. The Supreme Court ended the constitutional right to abortion in June 2022. In the year and a half after that, hundreds more babies died than expected. This is according to a study published this week in a major journal of pediatrics. Researchers said the increase was detectable several months after the decision. In some months, infant mortality jumped by as much as 7% from the baseline before Roe was overturned. The data showed that the most significant increases in deaths were in infants with congenital anomalies or birth defects. More of these babies may have been carried to term under new abortion bans. And previous research also shows that people with unwanted pregnancies are less likely to obtain basic health services. That might increase the risk of complications in pregnancy. Number 6. A new prime number just dropped. As a reminder before we get into this story, a prime number is one that can only be divided by itself and the number 1, like 2, 3, 5, 7, and so on. But as prime numbers get bigger, they get a little more difficult to identify. Earlier this month, a 36-year-old programmer from Alabama realized he had made an incredible discovery. Luke Durant had found the biggest prime number known to mankind. The number has more than 41 million decimal digits. It has a shorter name, too. That's M136279841. If someone read off the entire number and each digit took 1 second to say, they would need 475 days to finish, so we won't do that here. It was no joke finding this number. It took Durant almost a year of work and $2 million of his own money to make the discovery. He did very well for himself working for the chipmaker NVIDIA at the start of the tech boom. Durant found his number using only publicly available unused cloud storage space. He said he wanted to show the incredible power of computing at this moment in history. We're heading back to the White House for number 7 today. But don't worry, it's not to talk about the election. The White House tour is getting an overhaul. Public tours of the president's home in Washington, D.C. haven't changed in decades. In an interview with The Post, First Lady Jill Biden said she thought they weren't dynamic enough, so she set about reimagining the experience. This week, she unveiled the new tour that features digital technology, educational displays, and more access to the mansion. That includes the diplomatic reception room, where President Franklin Delano Roosevelt delivered his fireside chats to the nation. If you want to visit, it's a hot ticket with about 10,000 weekly visitors. But on the plus side, it's free. You can request a tour through your member of Congress or your senator, or through the White House website. You'll find a link to that in our newsletter today. Find that in our show notes. All right, you're all caught up. But now it's time to dive deeper. For your next listen, check out our afternoon news podcast, Post Reports. Yesterday's episode was about the union workers who could determine the outcome of the election. Unions have historically supported Democrats, but in recent years, their members have shifted right. Reporter Lauren Cowrie-Gurley tells Post Reports about her visit to the Ford auto plant in the critical swing state of Michigan. You can find that episode and everything else Post Reports does wherever you listen to podcasts. Check it out and don't forget to subscribe to the show. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.